With me in the studio now is Michael Tang. Michael works at Wesley Edward Eagar Lodge as a chaplain to the homeless. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Keith.
Good to have you on the show. Firstly, Michael, I'm going to begin, because of the nature of the day that we're sharing today, what does Good Friday mean to you?
Well, Good Friday is critical for me personally because of my belief. We see the power of Jesus going to the cross, and later, of course, we see the power of Jesus risen from the cross and the power of his love in that.
And for you, does Good Friday affect the way that you view your work with the homeless?
I think yes, in the sense that when we look at Jesus and how much he loves us and that he would give up his life for those he loved, if I'm a follower of Jesus, then I have to follow that example of love. And so that's what I try and look towards and try and emulate that love to other people.
You know that I have a passion for homelessness like you do, but we all face the reality that the question of homelessness is a complex one and that there are no simple answers. In fact, if somebody comes to me and says they've got a simple answer, I feel I've got a task then to sit them down and to unpack that and say, hang on a minute, before you go. Does the fact that there are not lots of simple answers spur you on?
I think so, because Jesus offers us hope. And in an arena where there's many problems, many tragedies, many difficult situations, I think Jesus can bring hope to those people. Without hope, we're people who are hopeless.
Many business people, when I've spoken to them, talk about something that getting them up in the morning so they can go and do about that. Now, when you're involved in this kind of work, are there things that keep you awake at night when you go home from this work?
Certainly there are things, people that I worry about, that I have concerns about. I think that it helps, though, to know that there's a God who is in sovereign control of all things, because I can't possibly solve all those issues, as you mentioned, but God has control of everything, and he's got a much bigger plan, a much bigger mind than I have. So I put those people to God in prayer, and I know I can trust the Lord.
When people come into our centre, it's not one problem, is it? It's invariably a number. What are the kind of things that people are facing when they come to a place like Edward Eagar Lodge?
Sure. So one of the things they all face when they come is their history. Bad decisions they've made, other people who have affected them, and problems that might develop in their life because of that, and because of that substance. So I think homelessness is really it's just a symptom of what's happened before in their life.
And what about mental health issues? Because that's inevitably part of it, isn't it?
Yes, mental health plays a huge role. There's a high percentage of our residents would have mental health issues, whether they from psychosis, from things that have happened in their life, or depression, or anxiety, even OCD. Many of those things they have and bring with them.
And you know, I know this isn't popular, but my job is not just to be popular. On a day like this, we remind ourselves that many people have done things wrong in their lives, haven't they? And they often find themselves in homeless situations because of that.
Yeah, I think that particularly this weekend, that shows that that someone loves them, and that Jesus loves them and cares for them. And they can find that in God's community of people and his church, and he's offering them their hand. And I think people need to know they're loved. They need to have relationships.
On a positive side, what are some of the changes you have seen?
So definitely, I've seen people who have not known God or accepted Jesus before they've come to the lodge, and they come in and they find out, they realise they can ask questions, they can find out so much more, and some of them just have they're like children. They have a burning desire to know more, and they soak that up as a sponge. And that's one of the great encouraging things I see every now and then.
And some people do get their act together, don't they? It's not inevitable that when a person's drinking that they should drink forever, is it? It's not inevitable that because somebody takes drugs that they cannot be brought from that addiction to something better.
Yeah, so some people do get their act together, like you said, and they'll go from our temporary accommodation into housing, and from there to start to rebuild their life, maybe a job, and working and earning an income. Yeah.
And for me, that's a part of the Easter message, that there's a message of hope, and hope springs eternal, but it's definitely important to some of these people, isn't it?
Absolutely, Keith, absolutely. Hope, without hope, we are hopeless, and I think Jesus gives them hope. Whether they move to the next accommodation, whether they get a job or not, if Jesus is there, there's always hope.